So this is the class page. We have Photo P right here. We have our remind code here, the OneNote link, and a blurb about our class, and then also protocol for non-working laptop, the links for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday, Thursday, and then also the syllabus. So you need to be making sure that your parent or guardian has read the syllabus, and then they are going to fill out this very short form, and that will be your first grade. And I think that's it. So I have here the links and photo piece, so you can just kind of go clickety click and get here. All right, so now I'm going to go clickety click and get onto Photo P. So you guys should all have Photo P open, and it looks like this. So this is our interface. This is pretty similar to Photoshop. Maybe not in the interface visually, but as a program, it's very similar. So we have on the left-hand side, the toolbox. So all of these things in this left-hand bar, all of these cute little pictures, that is the toolbox. So that is where you're going to find all of the tools that you're going to use. If you look closely, for example, at the rectangular marquee tool, which is this right here, you can see this little tiny arrow on the bottom right. If I click and hold on that compartment, I'm going to come up with a submenu of different tools that are very similar or that are related to that tool that you just clicked on. So this is called the rectangular and the elliptical marquee. And so let's see. So we have just a quick little introduction. Also, if you hover over the tool long enough or the something long enough, it's going to give you a little balloon that tells you what it's called. And it also tells you what the keyboard shortcut is. So if you want to get into the keyboard shortcuts, then that's great. I don't know what they all are. A lot of them are unnecessary to know by heart. But you will find that there will be shortcuts that you're going to want to learn, like copying, pasting, cutting. Those things you're going to use over and over again, and sometimes it's just easier to do the keyboard shortcut. So we have our move tool. This is how you move your items, how you select your items. So these are all selection tools. And then we have the rectangular, which is for more square, geometric. We have the elliptical for obviously more rounded, more natural shapes. And then we have the marquee, the lasso tool, which kind of you can draw with. So it's a selection tool. It's to select an area, but it is something so you can draw it yourself. And then we have the object selection and the quick selection in Photo P, I'm going to say are not my favorite tools. We can experiment with them. The magic wand is a good tool. And then we have the spot healing brush. I don't use that a ton. The paintbrush. So the paintbrush has also the pencil tool and the color replacement. Color replacement tool I don't really use much. We have the clone tool, which on occasion we'll use. The eraser we'll use. This is an important one because this has the paint bucket in this compartment, and people are constantly telling me they don't know where the paint bucket is. So look for the gradient, and it's underneath the gradient. And we have some blur tools. This right here is the dodge and burn tool. So if you've ever taken photography with me, this is dodging and burning. Photography in the darkroom is where they got this from. So dodging is to make something lighter, and burning is to make something darker. And the sponge tool, we don't use that in the darkroom unless we're cleaning something up. I'm not really sure what that does. We'll have to experiment with that as well. And then we have the text tool. So if you're going to be writing something like your name on your work, you are going to be using the type tool or the text tool, and not writing it with a pencil that looks like a third grader wrote it. So if you're going to have text, you're going to use the text tool. We have the pen tool, which is one of my favorite tools. It's pretty tricky, but once you get it, you got it. And you can trace anything with this once you get the hang of the way the pen moves. We have the path selection tool, which is kind of in cahoots with the pen tool. We have the shape tool. When we're making our shapes, we are not going to use the shape tool. We are going to use the marquee tools, FYI. We have the hand tool, which actually moves your document around. And we have the magnifying glass, which zooms in and zooms out. And then here we have our colors. So these are the default colors. So black and white are the most used colors, and this is true black and white white. If you click on these two little tiny black and white squares, that'll bring you back to the black and white. And if you click on the double-headed arrow, it will switch the colors from foreground. So right now, white is the foreground color and black is the background color. And if you want to switch those, you're going to do the double-headed arrow. And then this is the quick mask mode, which we will be using for some things. So basically, that is the toolbar in a nutshell. So if I say it's in your toolbar, it's on the left-hand side, and that's where you're going to find whatever I'm talking about. You'll also notice that this bar, okay, so at the very tippity top is the menu bar. You have that in every program that you use, and that's how you can sort of maneuver around in the program. Save things, open things, edit things. So that's all up here. So the second bar, this is the options bar. And this is I can't think of the word. This pertains to the tool that you're in. So right now you can see that I'm in the type tool because it is darker, it's black. And this is all pertaining to the type tool. So if I click on a different tool, now this is pertaining to the eraser tool. So every tool has its own different options that you can choose. So that is the options bar. So we have the menu bar at the top, we have the options bar that is next, and then we have the toolbox, which is vertical up and down. On the right-hand side, we have all of our palettes. And the palettes that we should have, some of them, there's a ton of palettes. So if you go into the window menu, these are all the different palettes that you can have open. Obviously, that's a lot of stuff. If you have all of those things open, you're not going to be able to see your window. So you really only want to have what you need open. So I always have my layers open. And on occasion, I will put my navigator on. And the navigator is a way that you can zoom in to work on a certain area of your artwork and still be able to find your way back. And I'll show you what I mean when I open up a document. So without any further ado, I think I will open up a document, and so shall you. So we're going to click on New Project under this Photopea heading, and you should come up with this dialog box, very big dialog box. Basically, I ignore all of this, and I come over here to where it says New Project, and we are going to name this Project 1. And I'm going to change the pixels, so the unit of measure, which is right here next to width, I'm going to change px to in, which is inches. And now we can see everything in inches. And I find that it's just easier for me because I can visualize how big 17 inches is as opposed to something 1,000 pixels. It's like, okay, don't know how big that is. Maybe if we were in a different country and we were using the metric system, then we wouldn't have that issue, but alas, we are here. So I'm in inches and I'm going to change my width. I'm going to just make mine paper size, so 8.5 by 11, but I'm going to make it wider than it is tall. You can do it opposite if you would like, and you can do that by these double-headed arrows are going to switch your dimensions. I'm going to say I'm going to do it 11 by 8.5. You can leave the DPI or the dots per inch at 72, and we're not going to be printing. And you're going to change your background to transparent, and then go ahead and click create. But before you do that, you could just make a mental note of these interesting dimensions or pre-sized canvases that you can use. So I think this is kind of an interesting addition to Photopea. If you know what you're making, if you're creating a Facebook cover or an Instagram cover or one of these kinds of things for social media, it gives you the dimensions, which I thought was pretty cool. And if you're going to be printing it, it's going to change the size as well. If it's a photo, general sizes for photos or common sizes for photos. Screens, mobile, so for different phones, and ads, which is like, you know, when you're doing banners for things. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't really use that very much, although I have used it on occasion. In fact, I used it to create the class page. But I just thought I'd share that little nugget of knowledge with you. So I'm going to hit create, and this is my document. Oh, sorry. I'm going fast. We will go over this ad nauseum, which means again and again and again and again and again, because you will be using this for the rest of your life until the day you die, until you have your teeth in a jar on the table next to you and you're showing your grandkids what you did in Photopea, you'll still be using it. So hopefully you won't have your teeth in a jar, but in case you do. So just to recap, we have our menu bar at the top. So this is the menu bar, and then we have the options bar, which changes with each tool that you use. And you don't have to worry about trying to remember the tools, because when we're creating an assignment, I'm gonna tell you what tools that you're gonna use. And also, if you don't remember the names, again, if you hover over the document, if you hover over the tool, a little bubble will come up and tell you what the name of it is and also the keyboard shortcut. So the keyboard shortcut for this is I. So right now I am in the clone tool. If I type I on my keyboard, now you can see I'm in the eyedropper. So that's what the keyboard shortcut is for. So here we are with this beautiful, empty, clear document. And we know that the background is transparent because we have the gray and white grid in the background. And the reason why I always like to have a transparent background is because you need to be able to see from one layer to another. So we'll talk about layers also, but in a nutshell, a layer is like having pieces of transparent plastic on top of each other. And let's say on one of those pieces of transparent plastic, you created a shape, and then you put another piece of transparent plastic on top of that and created another shape on that one. If you have them in layers, you can kind of move them separately. And you're going to find out all about that because that's what we're going to do right now. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a composition using our marquee shapes. So you're going to go over here to the rectangular. It says rectangle select. Bleh. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to just click and drag my mouse or click and drag my finger. And so you should come up with some sort of shape that has four 90-degree angle corners, and it is just a dotted line. So that dotted line is a selection, but it is not a permanent selection because it needs to have something happen inside it for it to stay. Because if I were to click over somewhere else, you can see that now my selection went away. So you can only have one selection at a time when you're doing it this way. So what I'm going to do is, once I have my selection, I am going to go to my gradient tool, and I'm going to click and hold until I get the paint bucket here. So I'm going to click on my paint bucket, and then I'm going to change my color. So I'm going to go down here to the black and white swatches. I'm going to click on the one that's black because that is the foreground color, and it is the position that makes it the foreground color. You can see the entire square here, as opposed to the white square, you can only see part of it. So that means that the white one right now is the background color. So I want the foreground color, so I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to get the color picker, and I'm going to choose a color over here. So let's say I want a blue. I'm going to click in the blues, and I can slide around, and then I'm going to click in here somewhere, whatever shade I would like. So I'm going to go bright. And then you can see the color that it used to be and the color that it is now. And you want to make sure you say OK to cement that decision. And then I'm in the paint bucket. I'm going to click inside my dotted lines. And now I have my shape. So to get rid of my marching ants, I can do a couple things. So to do just about anything in Photopea and Photoshop, there's probably 8 or 10 ways that you can do it. I want to get rid of my marching ants. So I can either go up to select and click deselect, or I can go to the keyboard shortcut, which is Control D on the keyboard, or I can just click somewhere else inside my document if I'm still on that. So I can click somewhere else. Generally, I'll probably go for Control D for efficiency's sake. It's just faster. So here's my shape. So now I'm going to make another shape, and I'm going to use the elliptical marquee. So there is my shape. So like I said, you can only have one at a time. So if I make another shape without filling this in, then the outline is going to go away. Unless you hold down your Shift key and you click and drag. So I can add to my selection by holding down my Shift key, and I can also change the tool that I'm using. So now I'm in the rectangular. So I'm just adding to my selection. I can even not have it connected. So that is adding to your selection. So I can fill those. Let's see, I think it might fill all of them at the same time. Let's just check that out. Wouldn't that be awesome? I'm kind of hoping it does. Oh yeah, that's kind of cool. Okay, so that was adding to my selection. So now I'm going to make a new shape. And I want to take away from my selection. So I want to have this ellipse, but I only want half of the ellipse. So I only want to keep the top half because I want to have like a top of someone's head, I guess. I'm just going to go with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my rectangular marquee. I'm holding down my Alt key this time. So I'm holding down my Alt key before I'm touching my mouse, and then I'm going to click and drag through my selection, and I'm going to let go, and that gets rid of a selection. So it got rid of the bottom of my ellipse. Now I'm going to fill that. red. So that's taking away from a selection. So that is holding down your Alt key. So Shift adds to a selection and Alt takes away from a selection. So you can also use the lasso tool. So this is the lasso tool, and that is going to allow me to sort of make a freeform shape, or a shape that I can draw on my own. So I'm going to hold down my Alt key again, and I'm going to very unsteadily take away from my selection because I was holding down my Alt key. And then I'm going to change my color again. And go with that. And I'm going to go to my paint bucket. So there's my very ugly green shape. It actually looks like maybe a sock puppet. Yeah, that's what I meant to do. So these are all my shapes. So now I want to add some more shapes in between these shapes, but I'm not sure where I want to put them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. So I suggest that when you're working in Photopea, especially when you're working on a project. So this, yes, this is a project. This is sort of a learning project. When you're working on like a final piece, you must use layers. You must use a new layer for each bit that you're working on. In some cases, everything that you do. So maybe all of these different shapes would be on a different layer, because if you don't like what you did, you can just trash the layer rather than having to erase between things, which is really tedious. Or if you're not sure where you want to place it, or if you want to be able to rearrange it, if it's on its own layer, you can rotate the layer, and you can flip the layer. You can do all kinds of different things. Whereas if it's all together, you can flip it, you can rotate it, but you're going to do that for everything. So what I mean by that is, if I wanted to use my move tool and move this blue rectangle, I'm going to be able to. So there's that. That's another good reason why you want to use layers. So like I said, some of the things that you can do in Photoshop, you can't do in here apparently. I should be able to scooch that layer around, but that's okay because I don't want to. Oh, you know what? It's locked. Let's see. Let me see. No. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so I'm going to make a new layer. There's a couple different ways you can make a new layer. You can either go up to layer at the top, layer, new, layer, new, layer, new, layer. As you can see, this is not one of the ways that I make a new layer because I can't even seem to click it. So you can do that, layer, new layer, or you can just go right down here at the bottom of the layers palette, and this little icon to the left of the trash can makes a new layer. So here's my new layer. So now I can make other shapes. So I'm going to go, let's see, I'm going to go with my elliptical marquee, and I'm going to add to it. So there's my shape. I'm holding down my Shift key. And there's my beautiful shape. I'm going to change my color. And I'm going to fill it. So I can do the paint bucket. But I want to show you the paintbrush. So here's the paintbrush. I am going to paint in that shape I just drew. So thinking about the shape I just drew and the fact that it is selected, if I'm painting with my paintbrush over here and nothing is happening, that is because I have a selection. And only when I paint inside that selection will anything happen, because it is selected. So it needs to be inside the marching ants. If there are no marching ants, then you can paint anywhere, or you can do it anywhere. So if you wanted to fill the whole artboard, then you could not have a selection and just drop the paint. But it's just like when you drop the paint at home and you don't have it in a bucket. If you pour it on the floor, it's going to go everywhere. So you just have to keep that in mind. But if you pour it in the bucket, i.e. the shapes that you just created, it'll stay in there. So with the paintbrush, up here in the options bar, you can change a bunch of things. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to change my size. So this little dot here shows you what the brush shape looks like, and it also tells you the size. And if you want to change that, you're going to click this drop down, and then you can change the size. You can change the hardness. And what that means is it has sort of a soft look here or a hard edge. So a soft edge or a hard edge. I'll choose a soft edge, you can see. So if I were painting this, it's kind of, the edges are a little bit less yellow than the center of the brush. So this is what that looks like in real life. Click. Oh, see, I have a little selection there. So this is kind of an important thing. So I'm trying to paint and I can't do anything. And so the first thing I need to think about is, do I have something selected? And if I look inside here, I don't see anything, but if I look right here on the edge, actually it's outside my artboard, I can see that there are marching ants just marching in place without a leader. I need to get rid of them before I can paint. So I'm gonna use my keyboard shortcut Control-D, and now they're gone, and now I can paint. So this is a soft brush. You can see how it's kind of like spray paint edges. And then this is a hard brush. Big difference. So what I want you guys to do is you are going to create a composition that fills the entire artboard with shapes, and use your selection tools. So that would be the elliptical and rectangular marquees, the lasso tool to make your shapes. You're going to add to and take away from your shapes. So they shouldn't all be rectangles or circles or ellipses. They should be weird shapes also. And you are going to use different colors, and you are going to use at least 3 layers. And I will put all of this up in Unified Classroom. So that is your first assignment. And on that note, why don't you all start that, and then let's see how far we get. And if you have any questions, please ask them. I cannot stress enough that I do not want you to be frustrated. So if you don't get something, or if I'm going too fast, because I talk really fast, it's hard for me to talk slow. If there's something you don't get, please tell me. Jump up and down if you have to. I'm also going to post this video. I am going to record these classes, and I will put them all up on Unified Classroom. Everything that we do is going to build on what we did previously. So if you don't get something, please ask for help if you need it. Let me show you how to save this. And what I would like you to do also, this is really important, because I had a lot of people last semester saying that they can't find their images, they're gone, I have to start it again. So I'm going to show you how to save it. You need to create a file in your OneDrive for computer art so you can put all of this stuff in your file. Okay, so we're going to go up to File. And because we're going to continue to work on this, you're going to click Save as PSD. PSD is a Photoshop document. This will keep your layers intact. So we're going to say Save as PSD. You've already named it Project1. So now it is in your downloads. So what happens is when you save it, it goes into your downloads as Project1 PSD, which is why it's very important for you to name it before you start, as soon as you open it, because there's no other time that you can name it. It doesn't give you the opportunity. So now once you have it in your downloads, I want you to upload it to your OneDrive so that you have this document for tomorrow and the rest of your life.